The next topic is electromagnetic induction. To understand the electromagnetic induction, first we have to learn about magnetic flux. What is magnetic flux? Magnetic flux is the number of field lines crossing through a surface perpendicularly. That means if the more number of field lines are passing through a surface, then the field strength or the magnetic force will be more, and if the less number of field lines is passing through the surface, then the magnetic force will be less. So magnetic flux also determines the intensity of the magnetic field through a surface. So to calculate the magnetic flux through a surface, we use this formula VA cos theta, where theta is the angle between the area vector and the magnetic field vector. So the area vector of a surface is always perpendicular to the surface. That means for the screen of the mobile or the computer, the direction of the area vector is perpendicularly outward direction from the screen. That means towards you. As in this figure, the magnetic field lines are not normal to the surface, as here the magnetic field lines making an angle theta with the area vector. So to measure the flux, we use the formula B dot A cos theta. The SI unit of magnetic flux is Weber or Tesla meter square. So as we know, when theta is between 0 to 90 degree, the magnetic flux will be positive, as the value of cos theta is positive. And when the theta is 90 or 270, that means when the magnetic field along the paper, so it will produce a 90 degree angle because the area vector is perpendicular to the page of the paper. So magnetic flux at that moment is 0. When the angle is greater than 90 and less than 270, then the magnetic flux will be negative. So flux is maximum when theta is 0. That means cos theta equals to 1. That is B dot A. That means when the magnetic field lines is perpendicular to the page of paper. So magnetic flux across a coil can be changed by changing the strength of the magnetic field, as it is depend on VA cos theta. So it will depend on magnetic field, area vector and the angle between them. So when we increase the magnetic field strength by increasing the strength of the magnet, then it will increase the magnetic flux across the cross-sectional area of the coil. And if we increase the cross-sectional area of the coil encountering the magnetic field, it will also increase the magnetic flux linked through that coil. Or we can increase the cross-sectional area by increasing the number of turns of the coils. Or if we orient the coil or place the coil along the magnetic field, then the angle between them will be 0. So the strength of the magnetic field or magnetic flux will be maximum. So in this experiment, we have some observations that when a magnet is stationary, there is no deflection in the galvanometer and its pointer reads 0. So you can see that as it is moving, the galvanometer shows the deflection in the rightward direction. So the current will flowing from this region to this region, and here a north pole will generated. As the motion of the magnet is stopped, the pointer of the galvanometer comes to 0. This shows that the current in the solenoid flows as long as the magnet remains moving. Number 4th observation, if the magnet is moved away from the solenoid, like here, away from the solenoid, then the galvanometer will deflect in the left direction. As you can see, the current will flow in the direction from north direction to south direction. If the magnet moved away rapidly, the deflection of the galvanometer increases, as you can see here. Exactly similar observations are made if the magnet is kept stationary and solenoid is moved. So it is implies that it is relative motion between the solenoid and magnet which produces a current irrespective of whether the magnet moves or the solenoid moves. So from this experiment, so in this figure you can see that with the movement of the magnet, the more number of magnetic field lines are crossing the plane of the solenoid, and due to this the flux will increases and hence a current will flow through the conductor. So now The conclusion of this experiment is a current flows in the coil only when there is a relative motion between the coil and magnet. That means irrespective of whether the magnet moves or the solenoid moves. Number 2, the direction of the current is reversed if the motion of the magnet is reversed and the current in the coil increased by the rapid motion of the magnet, by the uses of a strong magnet, by increasing the area of cross section of the coil. So in this experiment we see that when there is a relative motion it will produce a current. Experiment number 2. In this experiment, so when there is a relative motion between the coil and the magnet, magnetic flux linked with the coil changes. As the coil is moved towards the north pole of the magnet, the magnetic flux through the coil will increase. Similarly, if the coil is moved away from the magnet, then the magnetic flux through the coil will decrease. Due to the change in the magnetic flux linked with the coil, an EMF is induced in the coil. The induced EMF causes the current to flow in the coil if the circuit is closed. Thus, electromagnetic induction is the phenomena in which EMF is induced in the coil if there is a change in magnetic flux linked with the coil. So, in this figure, you can see that instead of a bar magnet, as the magnetic field due to a bar magnet and a solenoid are similar, so we replace the bar magnet with a primary coil in which we pass a current and an amount of current will induced in the secondary coil. As you can see here, when we close the key, a current will flow through the conductor, and if we unclose the key, then again a current will induced in the secondary coil. In this experiment, you have observed that when the primary circuit is closed, current grow from 0 to maximum value. That means current will increase, and during this period, changing in current induces changing in magnetic flux across the primary coil. When the primary circuit is closed, the current in the primary circuit will grow from 0 to maximum, and in this time the magnetic flux across the primary coil will change, and due to this changing in magnetic flux of the primary coil, there will be a change in magnetic flux linked across the secondary coil, and due to this an EMF will induce in the secondary coil, and deflection of the galvanometer lasts only as long as the current in the primary coil changes, or in the other word, the magnetic flux in the secondary coil changes. So there will be an induced EMF. When there is no change, there will be no induced EMF. As you can see, the current is flowing still now, but there is no induced current or induced EMF. However, note that if the direction of the current in the secondary coil is reversed, as you can see here, the deflection of the galvanometer is opposite to the previous case. Now, Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction. So, from these two experiments, Faraday concluded these two laws. In the first law, he stated that with the change in the magnetic flux linked in a circuit, there will induce an EMF, and hence a current will induced in the circuit also. However, it lasts only as long as the magnetic flux is changing. So when there is no change in magnetic flux, there will be no induced current or EMF. And in the second law, it says that the magnitude of the induced EMF is directly proportional to the rate of change of magnetic flux. That means as we move the magnet towards the coil very fast, then the value of induced current will be more. That means with the rate of change of magnetic flux, the induced EMF will be proportional. That means with the increase in rate of change of magnetic flux, the induced EMF will be increased, and hence the induced current will also increase. So here we can see that induced EMF E is proportional to the rate of change of magnetic flux. Here phi is the flux, so change of flux represents d phi, and d phi by dt represents rate of change of magnetic flux. If we place equals to instead of proportional symbol, then we have to multiply the equation with a constant term k, and the equation becomes k d phi dt. As the value of the k is 1, so we can replace the equation E equals to d pi dt. In this Lenge's law, it will discuss that it will opposes the so-called cause or the very cause due to which it is produced. As you can see here, if we bring the north pole closer, then it will flow the current in the anti-clockwise manner in this conductor, due to which a north pole will produced in the nearer end, and these two north pole will repulse each other, hence the motion of the magnet can be opposed. And if we move away the north pole from the solenoid, then the direction of the induced EMF will be in the clockwise direction, due to which here and south pole will generate, which will opposes the motion that is moving away of the north pole from it by attracting the north pole. Now, when a magnet is pushed into a coil of wire, there is an induced current. The current in the coil turns into an electromagnet. One end becomes north pole and another end becomes south pole due to the flow of the induced EMF, as we have discussed in the section of the solenoid. When current is flows through a solenoid, one end becomes north pole and one end becomes south pole. Now the question comes, which end will becomes north pole and which end becomes south pole due to the motion of the induced current. So Lenge's law follow from the laws of conservation of energy, and in this context the energy must be transferred to produce an induced current. So work must be done to make the change which causes it. That means we have to do some work when we bring the north pole towards the solenoid, and due to this work done is converted into the electrical energy, and there will be a flow of charge particle, or there will be a current in the or induced current in the conductor. So when we bring the north pole towards it, it will produce an induced current in the anti-clockwise direction, which will produce the north pole in the nearest end, and the two north pole will oppose each other. Due to the presence of this opposing force, we have to do some work to bring forward the north pole towards the electromagnet. So here, so the ends of the magnets and electromagnets must repel, otherwise the poles would attract to each other and the magnet would accelerate into the coil, and we would be gaining energy without putting energy in. That means we can produce energy without investing any energy, which opposes the principle of conservation of energy. That means the total energy in the universe will increase in this manner. Here the poles of the electromagnet and the permanent magnet repel each other. We have to do some work to push the magnet into the coil. The energy transferred is equal to the electrical energy of the current induced. So the principle of conservation of energy is not violated, as we do some work and that work is transferred into electrical energy. Now this is the Fleming's right hand rule. In the previous session we have seen that the Fleming's left hand rule. Now we are discussing about Fleming's right hand rule. So in these two cases, all the fingers represent the same things as we have discussed in our Fleming's left hand rule. Like the middle finger will represent electric current, the forefinger will represent the magnetic field, and the thumb will represent the direction of the force. But in the Fleming left hand rule is used to find the direction of the force filled by a current carrying conductor, but the right hand rule is used to find the direction of the motion of the induced current in a conductor. So don't get confused. So if we place our three fingers in mutually perpendicular direction, then our forefinger points the magnetic direction of the magnetic field, and our thumb will point in the direction of the force or the moving charges, and the middle finger will represent the direction of the induced current in the conductor.